Paper 7, Literatures of India in Introduction Part 2, Session number 44, Session name Characters in the Play. Let us look into some of the major characters. Amrit Lal Parekh, the head of the family and father to Jairaj, and again Jairaj, son of Amrit Lal and husband to Ratna. Ratna, wife of Jairaj and daughter-in-law to Amrit Lal Parekh. Then we have Lata, his daughter to Ratna and Jairaj and Vishwas, prospective son-in-law. And minor characters also include Chandrakala and Mridangam artist Sesadri, Shankar, Amritlal Parekh. Amritlal Parekh is a freedom fighter and a reformist, but limits the freedom of his son. His son, Jairaj, wants to become a male Bharatanatyam dancer. Amritlal Parekh is an autocratic father for him. Bharatanatyam is the craft of prostitute to show off her wares. This is what Amritlal believes. Hence, a man has no business to learn such an art, and anyone who learned such a craft would not be a man. But Amritlal never thought the interest of his son in dance would turn into an obsession. According to Jairaj, Amritlal Parekh was a conservative and prudish, as the white rules. Dattani portrays an Indian family in which Amritlal Parekh possessed unquestionable power over Jairaj and Ratna. Parekh, being the head of the family, he declared himself to be responsible head for taking important decisions of all their life. He is a reformist and freedom fighter, yet a prudish and conservative. He was supporting in his family and also India to get free from the Britishers. Ironically, he controlled and framed strict regulations over his own son's wishes. He rejects the freedom of his son, who wanted to become a Bharatanatyam dancer. He says, "Do you know where a man's happiness lies? In being a man." Amritlal implements his wish on his son and wants him not to take up dance as his career because it's not a male oriented profession. Man is declared to be the bread earner, and he is expected to be in such a profession in which self esteem is concerned with it in Indian society. In the other term, man did not get freedom to undergo art form like Bharatanatyam. Jairaj's father equates the art of dance with prostitution. He says, "The craft of a prostitution to show off her wares, what business does a man have to learn from such a craft? No use when compared with dance." Dramatist has clearly indicated that Amritlal Parekh felt really bad and ashamed of Jairaj because he, being a real man, is in the profession of lower quality. He considered Jairaj a cause for the shame for the family because he judged Jairaj on the floor of masculinity in which he didn't allow himself to fit in. Amritlal says, "Well, most boys are interested in cricket. My son is interested in dance. I thought I didn't realize this interest of yours would turn into an obsession." Amritlal's character is largely associated with the theme of appearance and reality in the play. When Amritlal pleads to Ratna, help me make him an adult, help me to help him grow up, it's quite clear that he is not as omnipotent as he declared. He is exposed as a vulnerable man, seeking aid to have his son discover his inherent manliness, which, according to Amritlal, is lost owing to his love of dance. He is revealed not as a liberal minded person, but a vehicle of subjugation and repression that he blindly patronizes under the facade of an upholder of progressive ideas. His mask is ripped off when Jairaj confronts his hypocrisy. Jairaj says, don't pretend it suited your image to have a daughter-in-law from outside your community, revealing the discrepancy between what Amritlal is and what he pretends to be. The concept of masking and unmasking is also evident early in the play. Lata informs Vishwas with conviction that her father will never part with the shawl as it is a fond memory of his grandfather. But Jairaj promises to offer it to Vishwas at his marriage with Lata and says to himself with a sense of relief, your lost memory, soon I'll be rid of you too. When Lata tells Vishwas that her father, Hero, worshipped his father, Jairaj himself tells otherwise. You must have hated your father, for which Jairaj says, maybe. Vishwas asks, Lata told me you respected him a lot, that's why you have kept his portion unaltered. For which Jairaj says, rubbish. This is my word. I have kept it same because it's mine. When he died, I'd have everything removed, pulled out from the roots. Amritlal, the freedom fighter and social reformer, may be revered in society, but he objects to his son's choice of his own independence. The thematic thread can be traced from Cranach's Kanyadan, where the father is an ardent social activist but cannot accept his daughter's marriage to a Dalit. Let us now look at the protagonist, Jairaj. Jairaj is the only son of the social reformer, freedom fighter, and rich autocrat Amritlal Parekh. Our first encounter with Amritlal Parekh is when he is seen shouting at his son Jairaj, who is busy rehearsing his dance steps with Ratna under the guidance of Guruji and the musicians. Jairaj signals to the musicians to stop and shouts back at his father. When he shows up, Amritlal shouts at him, when I call for you, please show your face. Jairaj has been practicing the whole day and will pack up only when Guruji decides it. But Amritlal wants this to stop at once as he is expecting visitors. But Jairaj replies that he just cannot ask them to leave. It is coffee break for the musicians, but Amritlal Parekh is still fuming that he can't have some peace and silence in his own house. Turning to Jairaj, he comments on his son's unusual hobby. I thought it was just a fancy of yours. I would have made a cricket pitch for you on your lawn if you are interested in cricket. Well, most boys are interested in cricket. My son is interested in dance, I thought. I didn't realize this interest of yours would turn into an obsession. Amritlal's own obsession, he tells his son, was his involvement in fighting for the country's freedom. Jairaj retaliates. You had yours, now allow me to have mine. Amritlal is stunned. How can his son compare fighting for India's freedom with something like Bharatanatyam, which, according to him, is the craft of prostitute, since it has its origin in Devadasi system? In its earlier days, Bharatanatyam was associated with temples and rituals. The art was preserved by Devadatis, who were professional dancers in temples. They were, however, exploited by the priests and rulers and eventually, out of economic necessity, turned to prostitution. Hence, a stigma came to be attached to the dance form itself. Till the 1930s and 1940s, the time of action, the dance form was ignored and neglected. Added to this was the British prudish attitude, which dubbed Bharatanatyam as erotic. The English educated elite, the Brown Sahibs, and considered the art form as a debased and licentious remnant of our barbaric past, says Dattani in his note to the play. But in spite of this, in the same decade, a few young dancers from well to do and respectable families like Ratna in the play came forward to learn the art form from the Devadasis like Chennai Amma. Jairaj follows his heart's desire and becomes a dancer, but has enraged his father in the process. Amritlal Pare is disappointed because his son's ideas of happiness do not fit in with his. He says, I have always allowed you to do what you wanted to do, but there comes a time when you have to do what is expected of you. Why must you dance? Amritlal has allowed his son to marry Ratna, a Bharatanatyam dancer, to keep with his image of a liberal minded person. Ratna, in turn, has married Jairaj because he will allow her to continue her passion for dance after marriage. When Jairaj comes under the influence of his wife and wants to partner her in dance, he is right. He is convinced that dance is not a vocation that can enable a man to earn his livelihood. Nor is it respectable for a man, moreover, his own son, to become a professional dancer. Amritlal puts restrictions on his son's dance, although he doesn't deny him pocket money or the money to pay Guruji and the musicians for his dance practice. He tells Jairaj not to grow his hair any longer, and he is against Jairaj going by the dictates of his wife. Amritlal gloats over his grip over them and extracts a promise from Ratna to win Jairaj away from dancing if she wants to pursue her own career. Amritlal remarks, I can recognize a clever woman when I see one, and you are intelligent enough to realize now that the decision to let you dance is in my hands now. He tells Ratna that man's happiness lies in being a man. He assures her that she would be allowed to dance if she helps him in making Jairaj an adult who could be worthy of a woman. He wants Ratna to help him make Jairaj an adult. Hey, help me to help him to grow up. After striking this idea with her, Amritlal Parekh disappears from the scene. It appears as if he has handed over this responsibility to Ratna, who thus buys her freedom to dance at the expense of Jaira's ambition to become a male Bharatanatyam dancer. Ambition overtakes Ratna. In order to prove herself as a dancer, she destroys the career of Jairaj, and this combined with his father's disdain for dance plays havoc with his personality. He takes to drinking, holding Ratna responsible for his drunkenness because she has, under a deal with his autocratic father, deprived him of dancing. Ratna blames his addiction to alcohol for his mediocrity. Jaira's tragedy is that he stopped being a man when he started learning Bharatanatyam, and for his wife when he turned to his father's house within 48 hours and she calls him a spineless boy. Jaira's only ambition in life is now to train his son Shankar as a dancer so that Shankar can dance Lord Shiva's Tandava Nritya, the dance of destruction on Amritlal's head and avenge his humiliation. But Shankar dies in childhood because of an overdose of opium by the ayah to help him sleep successfully. This comes about because Ratna, in single-minded pursuit of her own career, neglects a child. Jairaj has been accused of lacking in manliness by his father when he took to dance as a career, which is a woman's prerogative, which can at best be a hobby for a man. He is weighed down under his own censure. This stunts his growth as a dancer. He is unable to dance like a man. Dance like a man questions the propriety of a man overstepping his jurisdiction by taking to dancing. He is ostracized by he chooses to dance like a woman, though his dancing is a way of expressing his identity. Jairaj Jairaj, the protagonist, is shown the door because he goes against the unwritten norms of the society in choosing to dance his way through life. This lands him great trouble. In real life, he is no match for either his father or his dominating wife, so he can neither behave nor dance like a man. One of Jaira's deepest regrets till the end is that he has not been able to dance like a man. This is the tragedy of his life, which tries to explain away at the end. We were only human. We lacked the grace. We lacked the brilliance. We lacked the magic to dance like God. Alas, Jairus' fault is that he has tried to march to the defeat of a different drummer in this gender biased society. Jairus presents another freedom by embodying individual liberty. He emerges more successful than Amritlal, living life on his own terms. Unlike Hasmukh Mehta, in Where There Is a Well, whose affluence is ridiculed when he is revealed as his father's shadow. Nonetheless, Jairus takes pride in whatever reminds him of the glorious past, like the mansion or the shawl. Like his father, he too shunned Western outfits in a simulated tradition by wearing kurtas and shawls on most occasions. This process of negation and assimilation produces a hybridized or post-colonial context for Jairaj. He bears up his own identity by adopting Indian dress and rejecting gender roles in dancing. Also, Ratna, like Kiran, Hasmukh's mistress, belongs to the post-colonial era and stands for the new woman, bold, self-assertive, and confident. Like the protagonist in Tara or Uma, Ratna too faces the feminine question of identity that highlights the colonial perspective of society. Ratna happens to be the most important character of this play. Dattani portrays the character Ratna, the most dominant woman in this play. The whole play browses in the ascendancy of Ratna to attain an awful position on dance, and Dattani distinctly exhibits the mysterious twin of woman's approach through her incorrigible behavior. As she belongs to South India, she has got married with Jairaj, a Gujarati, and she serves food in the home as her wishes of South India dishes. She completely controls the lives of her husband and daughter. But her daughter Lata exceeds the limit like her mother in the passion of dance. Latani portrays these two characters are ruthless and outspoken. Dattani makes use of flashback as one of his dramatic techniques, which appears in the second part of the first act. It is for highlighting the disagreement exists between art and family. At the beginning of the flashback, young Jairaj and Ratna getting opposed from Amritlal Parekh, father of Jairaj, for not practicing dance furthermore. In the past, Jairaj and Ratna wanted to expand their career as popular dancers. They felt dance is not their only hobby or sideline of their life, but also engrossed with their spirit. When Jairaj was a young man, his father Amritlal decided him to practice dance that would fail him to acquire solace, a part of boldness. When Jairaj began the practicing of dance is not a sideline rather than the idea of his father. Amritlal believed his son's desire on dance would fade out from his life later on, but it didn't occur in that way. Jairaj prolongs his dance practice in spite of having all the resistance from his father and obviously reveals himself as revolutionary to his father's obsession. After that, he has turned out of most stubborn given by his father because of the encouragement of his wife Ratna, who is much interested in traditional dance. Amrit Lal doesn't want his son to become a Bharatanatyam dancer. Amrit Lal worries about his son's life because he believes that the obsession of dance never leads him to get a good place in his life, and Jairaj cannot support his family further by this. Ratna wants to sustain her passion on traditional dance, so she makes her husband a victim for attaining her ambition with the help of Amritlal. She plans to join her hands with her father-in-law Amritlal for his determination to destroy Jaira's passion on dance and career as dancer. Though Jairaj has a passion on traditional dance, he feels it suitable to female gender when comparing male. Ratna uses this possibility and achieve her passion on dance, and it helps in earning eminence and money along with admiration in the world of dance. Finally, Ratna disrupts Jaira's aim to become a popular dancer and says, "You're not even good at that anymore." It's the tactic that she has taken a benefit of Jaira's love, her status as a wife, and finally leaves Jairaj a failure and simple dancer. Mahesh Dattani creates the disagreement among the characters in the play through the strong passion of individual women on traditional dance. Dattani portrays the play with the gender discrimination that exists behind a woman's passion, and the dance leaves destruction in the life of man. Ratna accuses Jairaj's incompetence and stifled masculinity and holds his spinelessness as the prime reasons behind her frustrated ambition. Her obsession with Lata's career is implicit of the fame and fortune that she had aspired for herself. Therefore, she boasts at Lata's success. Why shouldn't she get reviews like this? I deserved it. My hard work has paid off. Her verbal tussles with Jairaj not only expose their embittered conjugal life but also the temperamental difference between the two. While Jairaj sees dance as a worship, a passion that is more to money, Ratna hankers after eminence by commercializing the art form. But like Jairaj, Ratna too is a victim, but of overambition. Becoming Amritla's accomplice in making Jairaj a man, she succumbs to her father-in-law's allurement that has disastrous repercussions. Let us now look into Lata's character. Lata, Jairaj and Ratna's only daughter. Lata is a simple laywoman who is trying to follow the dreams of her parents, especially that of her mother's, wanting Ratna to achieve what she could not because of various circumstances in life. She stands out to be quite distinct from the other characters of her family, as she didn't acquire from them their characteristics such as overambition and manipulation. She is not malice, and no wild passion drives her towards dancing. At the same time, she is devoted daughter with much concern for her parents. The marriage between Vishwas and Lata is a conditional marriage because Vishwas will let her dance after their marriage. Lata says to Vishwas, Vishwas, when we are married, you will let me come here to practice, won't you? By which Vishwas says, of course, Lata. Lata should not be restrained from dance because she has tremendous passion for dance, and she herself is a product of parents who are passionate, committed dancers. As a woman is not only a mere machine for reproduction, Lata advises Vishwas to go marry someone else when the later sees the farmer as a virtual producer of children. At this point, it is relevant to observe that where women, by using the realms of politics, resist the patriarchal stereotyping of women identity as they overthrow the forcefully ideological means of reproduction as their identity politics. To continue the chain of dancing sensibility, Lata, like the woman in Firestone's thesis, projects a vehement rejection to play the stereotypical role of a mother. Similar to her mother, she puts dance as her first preference. Other things in life are secondary. In the conditional arrangement of dance, there is always a possibility that the root of our dies dehydrates. Lata is really dragging the carriage and baggage of her professional mother. There is always a large gap between the professional art and artistic art, and Lata's drama vividly underscores that. The play seems to reflect the reversals of gender roles. It's very interesting to watch how the women materialize their dream in the so-called patriarchal world. On the other hand, Jairaj fails to grab the success of his dream in the patriarchal world. However, both Ratna and Lata succeed in their life. Let us now look into the character of Vishwas. Vishwas, the love interest of Lata, who she later marries, is a happy-go-lucky man. He brings some light-hearted humor in the otherwise intense story. He is quite loving and supportive of Lata and her interest in dancing. He is hyperactive yet ever ready to listen to and comfort of Lata. He tries hard to seek approval from Lata's parents, which shows his compassion towards her. Thank you.